Hi guys, welcome back to the Drive Life channel. In today's video, we'll be discussing the reliability of the Aisin TF-80SC transmission. Now this transmission was used in Volvos from 2007 all the way up to 2015 with a slight addition of an extra gear. It's a variant, it's the TF-81 transmission, but they are the same transmission ultimately, just with one extra gear on the latter. So I've had this gearbox now, or I've had this car now with this gearbox for 40,000 miles, 2 years. So I thought I'd be pretty well placed to explain to you guys how it's been, what the reliability is like. I've done a fair bit of Googling, a fair bit of research, speaking to owners, etc. So we'll touch on that and how to maintain it, because I think there's a lot of misconceptions out there. Volvo marketers a sealed for life gearbox, but there's definitely a maintenance schedule that you'll want to keep to if you want to keep your gearbox reliable. So overall then, this transmission is fantastic. It's got a torque limit of 450 Newton meters, which means tuning can be a bit of a risky one on this one, but I know people who run 500 Newton meters through these gearbox absolutely fine, and they've had no issues whatsoever. Now, it does limit torque in first and second gear, meaning that it's not particularly quick. These cars aren't particularly quick 0 to 60 because of that. But once you get into third gear, then these things absolutely fly. So that's an interesting characteristic. If you're trying to get 0 to 60 times, then probably this isn't the right gearbox for you. If you're trying to get absolutely amazing fuel economy, then again, this gearbox may not be for you. The nature of it with the torque converter, etc., there's going to be more fuel used than perhaps a manual car. That's because obviously you have a direct connection with the flywheel in a manual car, whereas it goes through a torque converter, which means there is some slip. What it does mean is these are very smooth transmissions, and I have to say never really had a rough gear change. Once it's up to temperature, etc., these things are buttery smooth, and really under a lot of speed and a lot of power, if you really put your foot down, it changes, and the shifts are really quick, almost dual clutch level quick. They'll never be quite dual clutch level quick, but this is one of the fastest torque converters I've had the pleasure of dealing with. And considering it's from 2006, I think this gearbox was originally made, then that's pretty impressive, I think. Now, it does tend to slip up every now and then, if you pardon the pun, when you're doing town driving. It's not the most town-friendly gearbox, and I think that probably has to do with my car. With it weighing nearly 2 tons, then yeah, it's not going to be particularly easy to manage moving this mass around and getting the engine and all the power down on little short bursts. But yeah, it's certainly very, very comfortable on longer journeys. A roads, B roads, etc. Motorways, for example, you cannot go wrong. Hello, cat. You cannot go wrong whatsoever. So that's something to bear in mind. Also, if you do a lot of motorway journeys as well, you'll find that you'll just spend all your time in 6th gear. There's no issues whatsoever. You don't even think about it. Now, I've discussed this on the channel before, but let's talk about reliability for these gearboxes. Now, the previous generation Volvo gearboxes, which was the Aisin AW55, they were prone to a lot of issues. They were prone to a lot of sort of internal friction, as well as valve bodies and solenoids, etc., going wrong. Now, the TF-80SC did fix a lot of those issues, especially the friction on the surfaces, etc. Addition of an extra gear, better sort of fluid, etc. It's all much better. However, they still can go wrong, and they still do go wrong. And when they go wrong quite quickly. There's not much in terms of warning, or when you start to notice something going wrong, it's better to get it looked at straight away rather than putting it off, because it will turn into a bigger problem. Now, this issue is mainly to do with the valve body. Older fluid basically loses its lubricity and clogs up the valve the valve body, which in turn then causes hard shifts, and eventually they can sort of give up altogether. Now, if you catch this problem early enough, you can change and flush the fluid either by yourself or get someone to do it, and that usually can fix the issue. If not, you have to have replaced the valve body. They're a couple of £100, and you'll probably need to go to a specialist to fix it. And that really is the main issues with these gearboxes, is actually the oil or the transmission fluid does deteriorate. And Volvo sold these as sealed for life units, meaning that you don't need to maintain them, which is actually a load of rubbish. These gearboxes need to be maintained. The other manufacturers that use this gearbox offer a service schedule for them, so you certainly do need to have them maintained. And on the TF-80SC in particular, it's not the most easy job. You need a ramp to do it. On previous generation gearboxes like the AW55 used to have dipsticks to tell the level, etc., and a filler. On this car you don't. It's a funky little system where you have to remove a threaded screw within a bolt or something. It's difficult to explain without showing you, but Volvo Sweden does a goods video on this, and I'll be doing a video on the full fluid change. And yeah, it's just a bit of a faff to do. It's okay if you've got the kit. You do need a special 17mm hex bolt, but or a hex bit, which isn't the easiest to find. You'll have to buy a specialist kit, but it's cheap enough to do. I think it's about 70 quid, 80 quid if you buy the kit in bulk in terms of the fluid. If you buy it sort of one-off, then it's going to cost you around £120 to buy all the fluids. You don't have to use specific Volvo fluid. You can actually buy I'm not going to try and tell you the code of it, but it's a specific code or type of transmission fluid that Toyota sell that is the same and is cheaper, so bear that in mind. But really, you want to be changing this fluid every 40 to 50,000 miles, 60,000 miles at a push, but 40 to 50,000 miles, you're really never going to have any issues if you change your fluid that regularly. Obviously, Volvo saying that they didn't ever need doing. You're going to get cars with higher mileage that perhaps haven't had it done. I think this car's on 115,000, was done at 70, so it's due soon, and I'm just going to keep doing it so I don't get any issues, and that's how these gearbox needed to be treated. Maintenance is key. Not driving like an idiot is key. General mechanical sympathy with these gearboxes mean they'll treat you well. They're good for towing. They're good for long distance cruising. And if you want to have fun, you can knock it into manual mode and have a bit of fun. I mean, you're never going to hustle a 2-ton land yacht down the road with any particular vigor, but yeah, it's not going to be a Golf GTI, but for what it is, this gearbox is brilliant, and for its application, I can't fault it whatsoever. What I would like is for it to change up perhaps a little earlier. This engine's really torquey, and it could sort of roll around in 6th gear a bit more. The Mercedes A-Class we had was desperate to get it straight up into the sort of upper gears to save fuel, and I'd appreciate it if this gearbox would do it, or at least if there was a mode to do it. That would be nice. I understand that came on later cars with the TF-81SC, but yeah, overall a really stout, solid gearbox, no issues whatsoever. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Let me know your thoughts on the gearbox. Let me know if you've ever had any issues with it. Like I said, personally, it's been absolutely fantastic, and I'm sure there's people that have had plenty of issues with it. I think ultimately when the cars get down to sort of 12, 13, 14, 15 years old, you're down to the mercy of the previous owners. So you need to be looking at a car that really is perhaps a good example that's been looked after, and the one that's been cherished by its previous owner. But yeah, overall, like I said, fantastic gearbox. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you next one. Cheers.